The stars were quiet that night when everything changed for humanity. Admiral June Kim stood in the command center of Earth's orbital defense station, his eyes fixed on the large screen showing unusual movement at the edge of the solar system. "Confirm those readings," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension building in his chest. Lieutenant Du nodded and ran the scan again. "Confirmed, sir. 5 objects moving at speeds that don't match any known Earth vessel. They're slowing down, near Pluto's orbit." Admiral Kim took a deep breath. After decades of scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life, humanity had its answer. They were not alone, and whoever was out there had technology far beyond Earth's regular space vessels. "Alert the Security Council immediately," he said, "and bring the defense grid to standby." Earth in 2157 was not the divided planet of centuries past. After the climate wars of the 2080s, nations had united under a single government. Resources once spent fighting each other had been directed toward space exploration and defense technology. Humanity had remembered its bloody history and vowed not to repeat the same mistakes when they finally reached the stars. President Tae Lee was woken from sleep with the news. Within an hour, the 12 members of Earth's Security Council gathered in the underground meeting room beneath New Geneva. "What do we know about them?" asked Defense Minister Han. Not Admiral Kim displayed the latest scans. 5 vessels, each about the size of our largest carriers. They're using a drive system we don't recognize, but it appears to bend space in a way similar to our experimental FTL prototypes. They're currently holding position and seem to be scanning our system. Dr. Hannah Park, Earth's leading expert in theoretical linguistics and communication, spoke next. "They're broadcasting, sir. Not directly at us, but we're picking up signals between their ships. It's not radio waves or any communication method we use, but the pattern suggests language." President Lee nodded slowly. "Can we understand what they're saying?" "Not yet," Dr. Park answered. "But my team is working on it. We're feeding everything into the quantum computers. If there's a pattern, we'll find it." "How long until they reach Earth at their current speed?" asked the president. "If they accelerate again like they did when entering the system, less than 3 days," Admiral Kim replied. President Lee stood up, his face grave. "Then we have 3 days to prepare. Admiral, bring all defense systems to full readiness. I want every orbital platform and ground-based system ready to respond. Minister Han, implement contingency plan Omega." Minister Han's eyes widened. "Sir, Plan Omega assumes hostile intent. Until proven otherwise, we must be prepared for every possibility," President Lee said firmly. "I hope these visitors come in peace, but hope is not a strategy." For the next 2 days, Earth prepared while Dr. Park's team worked tirelessly to decode the alien transmissions. The breakthrough came just hours before the alien fleet began moving toward Earth. Dr. Park rushed into the Security Council meeting, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. "We've done it. We've translated enough to understand the basic meaning." She connected her tablet to the main screen and displayed the translation. "They call themselves the Imperial Armada, representatives of something called the Galactic Empire. They refer to Earth as Target 2983, Class C Development World. Their communications indicate they plan to integrate Earth into their empire." "Integration? That sounds peaceful," Minister Han said. Dr. Park shook her head. "I don't think so. I've analyzed their communications about other worlds. Integration seems to mean different things depending on how advanced the planet is. For worlds like ours, it means resource extraction, population control, and what translates roughly as service duty to the Empire." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "They're talking about conquest," Admiral Kim said finally. "Slavery," Dr. Park nodded. "And they don't expect resistance. There are references to standard procedures for dealing with what they call primitive resistance. They've done this many times before." President Lee's jaw tightened. "They believe we're easy prey." "Admiral, what's our current defense capability?" "The orbital platforms are fully operational. The kinetic defense grid is ready. Our newest weapons, the quantum disruptors, are untested in actual combat, but the simulations are promising. If these aliens have shields or armor beyond what we've calculated, I can't guarantee success. President Lee stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the peaceful city below. Millions of people lived their lives unaware that their future was being decided in this room. Dr. Park, can we communicate with them directly? He asked. Yes, sir. We've analyzed their communication protocols enough to send a basic message they should understand. The president turned to face the council. Then we will send them a message. Earth will not surrender before a shot is fired. We will not bow to threats. We will offer peace but prepare for war. With the council's agreement, Dr. Park prepared the message. It was simple and direct. To the approaching fleet of the Galactic Empire, we, the United People of Earth, have detected your approach and understood your intent. We wish for peaceful contact between our civilizations, but we reject any attempt at conquest or subjugation. Earth is our home and we will defend it. The choice is yours, peace or consequences. The message was broadcast on all frequencies the alien ships had been using. The response came 3 hours later as the alien fleet crossed the orbit of Mars. Dr. Park's face paled as she translated it. They say our resistance is unexpected but futile. They've done this thousands of times across the galaxy. They're sending a small force to demonstrate their power and expect our surrender within one Earth Day. Admiral Kim checked the latest scans. They've dispatched one vessel toward Earth. The others are holding position near Mars. President Lee's decision was immediate. Bring all defense systems to full alert. If that ship takes aggressive action, you are authorized to use whatever force is necessary to protect Earth. On the lead Imperial ship, Commander Rin received the message from the humans with amusement. He had overseen dozens of integrations in his long career. These primitives had only recently achieved basic space travel. Their defiance was amusing, if futile. Prepare the demonstration, he ordered. Target their largest city. Once they see our power, they will understand their place. As the Imperial ship entered Earth's orbit, Admiral Kim watched it on the command center's main screen. When the alien vessel began powering up what sensors identified as weapon systems, he gave the order that would change the course of human history. All platforms, defensive measures authorized. Show them Earth is not defenseless. The first shots of the war between Earth and the Galactic Empire were about to be fired. The warning had been sent. The Empire had made its choice. Commander Rin stood on the bridge of the Imperial vessel Unyielding Might, a slight smile on his face as the ship entered Earth's orbit. In his 300 years of service to the Empire, he had overseen the integration of dozens of worlds. This small blue planet would be no different. Primitive defenses detected, reported his sensor officer. Nothing concerning. Their satellites appear to be equipped with basic weapon systems. Rin nodded, unsurprised. Target their largest population. Center. Standard demonstration protocol. The weapons officer entered the commands. Targeting complete. City called New Delhi, locked in. Population approximately 30 million. Excellent. They need to understand their position in the Empire. Fire, when ready, Rin ordered casually, as if he were not about to end millions of lives. The massive energy cannon of the Unyielding Might began to glow as it charged. The plan was simple and had worked thousands of times before. Destroy one major city, then demand surrender. Most species valued their lives too much to resist after seeing such power. On Earth's orbital defense station, Admiral Kim watched the alien ship charging its weapons. They're targeting New Delhi, Lieutenant Doe reported, her voice tight with tension. Energy readings suggest a weapon far more powerful than anything we have. Admiral Kim's face remained calm, though his heart raced. This was the moment humanity had prepared for over decades of peaceful cooperation. The moment that justified all the resources poured into defense rather than comfort. Activate Platform 7. Target their weapons system only, he ordered. Around Earth, 20 defense platforms hung in silent orbit, each containing technology developed from humanity's greatest minds. Platform 7 was the closest to the Imperial ship's position. As the Imperial weapon reached full charge, a beam of blue light shot out from Platform 7. It struck the Unyielding Might precisely at its weapons array. On the Imperial ship, Commander Rin was thrown off his feet as the vessel shook violently. "Weapon systems damaged," shouted his officer. "How? Their technology should not be capable of penetrating our shields." Rin regained his footing, his face now twisted with anger. "Return fire. Target their defense platform." The unyielding Might fired its secondary weapons at Platform 7. The energy bolt struck the platform but dissipated against a shimmering barrier. "Their shields are holding," reported the weapons officer with disbelief. Rin stared at the view screen. This was impossible. A Class C world should not have shield technology, let alone weapons that could damage an Imperial warship. "Full attack pattern," he commanded. "Call in the rest of the fleet. We will crush this resistance now." In the Earth, Defense Command Center Admiral Kim watched as 4 more Imperial ships moved toward Earth. "All platforms, defensive positions," he ordered. "They've called for reinforcements. President Lee, we need your authorization for full defensive measures." "President." Lee's voice came through the communication system, resolute and clear. "You have it, Admiral. Protect our world." Admiral Kim turned to his weapons control officer. "Activate the quantum disruptors. Target their engines and weapon systems first. Try to disable rather than destroy." The officer nodded and began entering commands. The quantum disruptor was Earth's most closely guarded secret. Based on theoretical physics that even most scientists considered impossible, the weapon did not destroy matter in the conventional sense. Instead, it created a localized disruption in spacetime, effectively removing the target from reality. As the Imperial ships moved into attack formation, strange blue-white beams shot out from Earth's defense platforms. When the beams touched the first Imperial ship, something extraordinary happened. Rather than an explosion, the section of the ship simply vanished, leaving a perfectly clean edge as if it had been precisely cut away. On his ship, Commander Rin watched in horror as the Imperial vessel Eternal Dominance lost its entire engine section to one of these strange weapons. "What is this?" he demanded. "Report." His science officer's voice shook as she replied. "Unknown weapon type, sir. It appears to be creating micro-singularities on contact. The targeted sections are being removed from normal spacetime." Rin could not believe what he was hearing. "Impossible. No Class C civilization has such technology. The Empire's Science Division doesn't even have functional prototypes of singularity weapons." But the evidence was before his eyes as another beam struck. The Imperial ship Righteous Power, removing its main weapons array with surgical precision. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Rin commanded, but it was too late. The Earth defense platforms fired again and again, each shot precisely targeted. Within minutes, 3 of the 5 Imperial ships had been crippled, their key systems simply erased from existence. "Sir," his communications officer called, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet." Rin hesitated, then nodded. "Display it." President Lee's face appeared on the screen. Unlike other leaders Rin had seen during integrations, there was no fear in his eyes, only determination. "Imperial forces, you have witnessed only a fraction of Earth's defensive capabilities. We did not wish for conflict, but you have forced our hand. Withdraw now, or we will be forced to take more permanent measures." Rin's pride warred with his instinct for survival. In all his years serving the Empire, he had never faced such a situation. The standard protocols did not account for a supposedly primitive world possessing technology that could counter Imperial might. "We will withdraw to assess the situation," Rin replied stiffly. "But know this, the Empire spans thousands of worlds. This is merely the beginning." As the Imperial ships retreated, leaving their damaged companions behind, Admiral Kim allowed himself a small sigh of relief. They had won the first battle, but he harbored no illusions about what would come next. "Send recovery vessels to the disabled alien ships," he ordered. "I want to know everything about their technology, their communications, anything that might help us prepare." President Lee joined him in the command center an hour later. Together, they watched as Earth vessels carefully approached the drifting Imperial ships. "How long do we have?" President Lee asked quietly. Admiral Kim studied the data streaming in from the long-range sensors. "The surviving ships are sending transmissions toward the outer system. Based on their previous travel speed, I estimate we have 3 months at most before they return with a larger force. President Lee nodded slowly. Then we have 3 months to prepare. The Empire clearly underestimated us this time. They won't make the same mistake twice. No, Admiral Kim agreed. Next time they'll come with an armada. From the recovered Imperial ships, Earth scientists began extracting and studying the alien technology. Dr. Hannah Park led a team that accessed the Imperial database, revealing the true extent of what they faced. The Galactic Empire controls over 5,000 star systems, she reported to the Security Council the next day. They've been expanding for more than 10,000 years, integrating or destroying any civilization they encounter. Images from the database showed countless worlds, some thriving under Imperial rule, others reduced to mining colonies with subjugated populations. They've never failed to conquer a world they targeted, Dr. Park continued. Until now. President Lee looked at the faces around the table. Then we have done what no one else has done. We've shown the Empire can be resisted. But this is just the beginning of our struggle. The warning had been sent. The Empire had chosen war. And now, Earth had to prepare for the real battle to come. Emperor Yuna sat on the grand throne of the Galactic Empire, her face like stone as Commander Rin finished his report. The vast throne room, with its soaring crystal ceiling and walls lined with trophies from 1,000 conquered worlds, had fallen completely silent. You mean to tell me, Emperor Yuna said, her voice dangerously soft, that 5 Imperial warships were defeated by a single primitive planet? Commander Rin knelt, his head bowed low. Empress, the intelligence was wrong. Earth is not a standard Class C world. They have weapons and shield technology far beyond what our surveys indicated. The Emperor rose from her throne, her long robes flowing around her. Though she appeared young, Emperor Yuna had ruled the Empire for over 300 years, overseeing the conquest of hundreds of worlds. In 10,000 years of Imperial history, no integration has ever failed, she said. And now you bring me news of defeat at the hands of a single planet that has barely reached its own moon? The Imperial Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Failure was not tolerated in the Empire. Many expected Commander Rin to be executed on the spot. Empress, said Grand Admiral Hyuk, stepping forward. I have reviewed the sensor data from the surviving ships. These humans have developed technology along different paths than the Empire. Their weapons create localized disruptions in space-time itself. The Emperor turned her cold gaze to the Admiral. Can we counter such weapons? With proper shields, tuned to the right frequencies, yes, Admiral Hyuk replied. But we will need more information and time to develop them. Time, the Emperor repeated, nearly spitting the word. While we delay, word of this defeat will spread. Already 3 systems in the Outer Rim have reported increased resistance activity. She walked down the steps from her throne, moving to a large holographic display of the galaxy. With a wave of her hand, she zoomed in on a small, unremarkable star system. This insignificant planet threatens everything we have built, she said. If one world can resist us, others will try. The Empire must demonstrate its power. Commander Yoon, who had piloted the scout ship that escaped Earth, dared to speak. Empress, if I may suggest caution, these humans have shown remarkable ingenuity. Their weapons will mean nothing against the full might of the Empire, the Emperor interrupted. Grand Admiral Hyuk, assemble the 7th Imperial Armada. 1,000 warships should be sufficient to remind these humans of their place in the galaxy. Admiral Hyuk bowed deeply. As you command, Empress. The Armada can be ready to depart within 60 days. You have 30, the Emperor said. I want this rebellion crushed before it inspires others. As the Imperial Council dispersed to carry out the Emperor's orders, Commander Yoon approached Commander Rin privately. The humans are more dangerous than the Emperor realizes, Yoon said quietly. I watched their weapons tear apart Imperial ships like they were nothing. We need to study them further before committing to a full attack. Rin glanced around nervously. Be careful with such talk. The Emperor has made her decision. A decision? Based on pride rather than strategy, Yoon replied. I will try to gather more intelligence from the captured ships. Perhaps there is still time to prepare properly. Back on Earth, preparations for the coming conflict had transformed the planet. Mining operations on the Moon and Mars had doubled, then tripled, extracting materials for new defense platforms. Factories worldwide operated non-stop, producing components for weapon systems and shields. In the underground research facility near Mount Fuji, Dr. Jin Kwan led a team working on what many considered humanity's last hope. Project Sunflare is theoretically possible, she explained to Admiral Kim and President Lee as they toured the facility. Using the moon as a gravitational lens, we can focus the sun's energy into a weapon capable of destroying hundreds of ships simultaneously. Theoretically possible, President Lee repeated. But the risks? Dr. Kwan's expression remained serious. Substantial. If the artificial singularity becomes unstable, it could grow large enough to consume the moon, possibly even Earth. Admiral Kim studied the complex equations displayed on the wall screens. How long until it's ready? With current resources, 3 months, Dr. Kwan replied. But we need more quantum processors to handle the calculations. Without them, the singularity will certainly become unstable. President Lee nodded grimly. You'll have everything you need. Whatever the cost, Earth must survive. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Kim inspected the new defense platforms. The original 20 had grown to 50, each equipped with improved quantum disruptors and stronger shields based on technology extracted from the captured Imperial ships. Will it be enough? Asked his second-in-command. Captain Jun Admiral Kim looked out at Earth, blue and peaceful below them. Against a standard Imperial fleet, yes. But they won't send a standard fleet now. They'll send everything they have. The orbital platforms are only our first line of defense, Captain Jun reminded him. The ground-based systems are nearly operational. Admiral Kim nodded. And we have Project Sunflare as our last resort. But even with all of that, we're facing an empire that controls thousands of worlds. Their resources are nearly unlimited. As they spoke, an alert sounded. A technician called out, Admiral, we're detecting signals from our long-range probes. Imperial ships are gathering at the edge of the Oort cloud. Current count is over 200, with more arriving. Admiral Kim's face hardened. They're assembling. Their invasion force earlier than we expected. How long until they're ready to move inward? Based on their previous patterns, 3 to 4 weeks, the technician replied. Then we have less time than we thought, Admiral Kim said. Inform President Lee. We need to accelerate all defense preparations. Back in the Imperial fleet, Grand Admiral Hayek reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The human defenses were growing stronger each day with new orbital platforms appearing regularly. We should attack now, urged his second-in-command, before their defenses grow even stronger. Grand Admiral Hayek shook his head. No, we will follow the Emperor's plan. When the entire armada is assembled, we will strike with overwhelming force from multiple vectors. No planetary defense system can cover all approaches simultaneously. Commander Yoon, who had been assigned as an advisor due to his experience with Earth, spoke hesitantly. Admiral, I've been studying the data from our captured ships. The humans are adapting our own technology and improving upon it. Every day we delay gives them more time to prepare. Your concern is noted, Commander, Admiral Hayek replied coldly. But the Emperor's orders are clear. We will crush this world, with the full might of the 7th Armada, not with a hasty piecemeal attack. In the following days, the Imperial fleet continued to grow. Ship after ship emerged from hyperspace at the rendezvous point, until the fleet count passed 500. On Earth, the defense preparations continued at a frantic pace. Dr. Kwan's team worked around the clock on Project Sunflare, converting a large portion of the moon's interior into the massive weapon system. We're running out of time, Dr. Kwan told President Lee during their weekly briefing. The calculations show the Imperial fleet will be ready to attack in approximately 2 weeks. Will Project Sunflare be operational by then? President Lee, asked Dr. Kwan, hesitated. The primary systems will be ready, but without full testing I cannot guarantee it will work as intended, or that we can control it. President Lee looked at the faces around the table, each showing the strain of weeks of non-stop work. "We have faced impossible odds before," he said finally. "Throughout human history, we have survived by our ingenuity and determination. We will do so again." As Earth prepared for the coming battle, the largest fleet in Imperial history continued to grow at the edge of the solar system. The 7th Imperial Armada, pride of the Empire, would soon be complete. And when it moved toward Earth, it would bring with it the full wrath of an empire unaccustomed to defiance. The warning had been sent. The Empire had chosen war. And now, both sides prepared for a confrontation that would change the galaxy forever. News of the 7th Imperial Armada's defeat spread through the Empire like wildfire. At first, Imperial authorities tried to suppress the information, claiming the delay was due to unforeseen technical difficulties. But spacers and traders carried, whispers from system to system, the unbeatable Empire had been beaten by a single world. In the Imperial Palace on Centauri Prime, Emperor Una faced her council, rage barely contained behind her regal mask. "How could this happen?" she demanded. "The greatest fleet in Imperial history defeated by primitives?" Grand Admiral Hayuk knelt before her, his once proud posture now bent with shame. "Empress, they converted their moon into a weapon. The technology involved was beyond anything we have encountered before. Our shields were useless against it." "Excuses," Emperor Una spat. "I want solutions. How do we crush this rebellion?" An uncomfortable silence fell over the council chamber. Finally, the Imperial Science Minister dared to speak. "Empress, to create a weapon capable of destroying the 7th Armada would require technology far beyond what we classified Earth as possessing. If they can weaponize a moon, they could potentially do the same with larger bodies. Any fleet we send could face similar destruction." Emperor Una's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You suggest we do nothing, allow a single planet to defy the Empire?" Before anyone could respond, the chamber doors burst open. Prince Min, the Emperor's nephew and heir, strode in, followed by his personal guard. "I suggest we recognize reality, Aunt," Prince Min said boldly. "While you have been obsessing over one planet, rebellions have broken out in 12 systems." Emperor Una rose from her throne. "How dare you interrupt the Imperial Council? Guards, remove him." The Imperial Guards did not move. Prince Min smiled, coldly. "They answer to me now, as does the 3rd Fleet and half the Imperial Army." He looked around the council chamber. "The news from Earth has spread. Subject worlds that have suffered under Imperial rule for centuries see hope for the first time. The Empire is crumbling from within. Treason," Emperor Una whispered. "Survival," Prince Min corrected. "The Empire must change or it will fall, starting with how we deal with Earth." Within hours, Emperor Una had been placed under house arrest. Prince Min addressed the Imperial Council as acting emperor. "Our first act must be to make peace with Earth," he declared. "Then we must reform the Empire from within. No more forced integrations, no more subjugation. Worlds that wish to leave the Empire may do so. Those that stay will have a voice in how they are governed." Not all council members agreed with this. Radical change, but with rebellion spreading across Imperial space, they had little choice. A message was sent to Earth, carried by a small, unarmed vessel flying under a flag of truce. On Earth, the mood was one of cautious celebration. The victory had come at a great cost. 15 of the defense platforms had been destroyed. Project Sunflare had nearly destabilized the moon. Thousands of personnel had been lost, but Earth had survived. Admiral Kim was in the orbital command center when the message from the Empire arrived. "A request for peace talks," he said, reading the transmission with surprise. "They say there has been a change in leadership. Prince Min has taken control and wishes to negotiate." President Lee received the news with caution. It could be a trick to buy time while they prepare another attack. Dr. Hannah Park, who had been studying Imperial communications throughout the conflict, shook her head. "I don't think so. We're picking up transmissions across Imperial space. There are uprisings on dozens of worlds. The Empire is facing internal conflict unlike anything in its history." President Lee considered this information carefully. "If true, this is an opportunity. Admiral Kim, Prepare a delegation. You will lead it. Dr. Park will accompany you to translate and analyze their communications. We will meet these Imperials, but on neutral ground. The meeting was arranged at a space station orbiting Jupiter, hastily constructed for the purpose. Admiral Kim led the Earth delegation, while Prince Min himself represented the Empire. I must congratulate you, Prince Min said as they met. In 10,000 years, no one has defeated an Imperial fleet. You have accomplished what many thought impossible. Admiral Kim studied the young prince carefully. We did not seek this conflict. We only wished to defend our world. And in doing so, you have changed the galaxy, Prince Min replied. News of your victory has inspired dozens of worlds to rise up against Imperial rule. The old ways are ending. Negotiations lasted for days. Earth demanded recognition as a fully independent world, free from any Imperial control. Prince Min agreed, but requested a trade and technology exchange. Not all Imperial worlds were conquered, he explained. Many joined willingly for the benefits of Imperial technology and protection. I would like to offer Earth the same benefits, not as subjects, but as allies. Admiral Kim was skeptical. Why should we trust the Empire after you tried to conquer us? Prince Min smiled. Because the Empire you fought no longer exists. I have dissolved the Imperial Council and called for representatives from all worlds to form a new galactic senate. I would be honored if Earth would send a representative. After consulting with Earth's leadership, Admiral Kim agreed to a cautious alliance. Earth would remain independent but would exchange diplomatic missions with the reformed Empire. 6 months later, Admiral Kim found himself appointed as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Senate. As his ship approached the Imperial capital for the first time, he marveled at the city planet, with its towers reaching into the clouds and ships from 1,000 worlds filling the skies. Dr. Park, now his chief advisor, stood beside him on the bridge. It's beautiful, she said. Hard to believe they wanted to conquer us just a year ago. Some of them still do, Admiral Kim replied. Prince Min's reforms have strong opposition from traditionalists. This peace is fragile. But it is. Peace, Dr. Park reminded him, and Earth is now known throughout the galaxy. They call us the world that broke the Empire. In the following years, Earth's influence spread throughout the galaxy. Human technology, developing along different paths than Imperial science, offered new solutions to old problems. Earth ships ventured to distant systems, not as conquerors but as explorers and traders. Other worlds that had won independence from the Empire looked to Earth for leadership and protection. A new alliance formed, the Confederation of Independent Worlds with Earth at its center. The old Empire, now reformed as the Galactic Commonwealth, maintained friendly relations with Earth and its allies. Prince Min, crowned as Emperor Min the Wai, continued his reforms despite resistance from traditionalists. 10 years after the Great Battle, President Lee, now retired, visited the memorial on the moon where Project Sunflare had been built. The installation had been converted into a museum, reminding future generations of humanity's closest brush with conquest. Admiral Kim, returning from his diplomatic post, joined him there. Did you ever think it would turn out this way? President Lee asked, gazing up at Earth hanging in the black sky above them. That our defense of one world would change the entire galaxy? Admiral Kim shook his head. I only hoped we would survive, but humans have always adapted quickly. Perhaps that is why the Empire found us so difficult to defeat, and why we have thrived since, President Lee added. Our colony ships have reached 12 systems now. Our technology spreads throughout the galaxy. Humanity's future is among the stars. As they looked out at the stars, both men reflected on how much had changed. Earth had sent a warning. The Empire had chosen war, and in doing so, had not only failed to conquer Earth but had transformed the galaxy forever. Across thousands of worlds, beings who had lived under Imperial rule for generations now looked to the night sky with hope instead of fear. And many whispered stories of Earth, the small blue planet that had dared to stand against the greatest power in the galaxy and won. The end. The day humanity had been preparing for arrived exactly 89 days after the first Imperial ships entered the solar system. The massive Imperial fleet, nearly 1,000 warships strong, began moving toward Earth in a formation designed to overwhelm any defense. In Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Kim watched the holographic display showing the approaching armada. Despite weeks of preparation, the sight was still shocking. The Imperial ships moved in perfect formation, a testament to thousands of years of military tradition. All defense platforms at full readiness, reported Captain Jun. Ground-based systems are online. Civilian populations have been moved to the underground shelters. Admiral Kim nodded, his face grim but determined. And Project Sunflare? Dr. Kwan reports it's as ready as it can be without full testing, Captain Jun replied. President Lee has authorized its use if all other defenses fail. Admiral Kim studied the Imperial formation. They were spreading out, approaching from multiple vectors as expected. No defense system could cover all approaches simultaneously, but Earth had prepared a surprise for the Empire. Activate the stealth platforms, he ordered. Beyond the visible ring of 50 defense platforms surrounding Earth, another 30 platforms had been hidden using technology adapted from the captured Imperial ships. These platforms remained invisible to Imperial sensors waiting for the right moment. On the Imperial flagship Eternal Glory, Grand Admiral Hyuk observed Earth's defenses with contempt. 50 defense platforms, he noted. Impressive for such a young civilization, but wholly inadequate against the might of the 7th Armada. Commander Yoon, still serving as advisor, frowned at the display. Sir, the defensive formation seems too obvious. The humans have proven themselves clever. I suspect a trap. Grand Admiral Hyuk smiled coldly. Even if they have some trick planned, it won't matter against our numbers. Begin the attack. Target sequence as planned. The Imperial fleet moved forward, dividing into attack groups. The first wave, consisting of 200 ships, accelerated toward Earth's defense platforms. In the orbital command center, Admiral Kim watched the Imperial fleet's movement carefully. They're using a standard attack pattern. Wait for them to commit fully before revealing our hidden platforms. The first wave of Imperial ships opened fire. Brilliant beams of energy shot toward Earth's defensive ring. The platform's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the assault. Shields holding at 85%, reported the defense officer. All platforms returning fire. Earth's defense platforms activated their quantum disruptors, firing precise beams that cut through space. Where the beams struck Imperial ships, sections simply vanished, creating perfect, clean holes. 23 Imperial vessels disabled, reported Captain Jun. But they're adapting. Their shields are changing frequency to resist the disruptors. Admiral Kim nodded. The Empire had learned from their first defeat. Switch to alternative targeting. Hit their engines and weapons arrays with concentrated fire. The defense platforms adjusted their attack, focusing multiple beams on key systems of the Imperial ships. The battle intensified as more Imperial vessels joined the assault. On the Eternal Glory, Grand Admiral Hyuk frowned as the battle reports came in. Their weapons are still effective against our shields, but less so than before. Press the attack. Bring in the second wave. Another 300 Imperial ships moved forward, firing a devastating barrage at Earth's defenses. 2 of the platforms exploded under the concentrated assault. Now, ordered Admiral Kim, activate the stealth platforms. Across the battlefield, 30 additional defense platforms suddenly appeared, catching the Imperial fleet by surprise. They opened fire immediately, targeting the rear of the Imperial formation where shields were weakest. Grand Admiral Hyuk slammed his fist on the command console. Hidden platforms! Regroup and return fire! The battle raged for hours. Earth's defenses fought valiantly, destroying or disabling dozens of Imperial ships. But the sheer numbers of the Imperial fleet were overwhelming. One by one, the defense platforms were destroyed. Platform count down to 23, reported Captain Jun, his voice tight with tension. Shields failing on multiple platforms. We can't hold them much longer. Admiral Kim's expression remained calm, though inside he felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. Contact President Lee. It's time for Project Sunflare. Deep within the reinforced bunker beneath New Geneva, President Lee received the message. He looked at the council members gathered around him, each face showing the strain of the past weeks. Admiral Kim reports our defenses are failing, he told them. He recommends activating Project Sunflare. Defense Minister Han spoke first. The risks are enormous. If the artificial singularity becomes unstable, if we do nothing, Earth falls to the Empire, President Lee replied simply. Dr. Kwan, are you ready? Dr. Jin Kwan's face appeared on the main screen, broadcast from the control center inside the moon. Dark circles under her eyes showed her exhaustion after weeks of non-stop work. We're as ready as we can be, Mr. President, she said. The energy collectors are aligned. The gravitational lens is formed. We need your authorization to create the singularity. President Lee closed his eyes briefly, the weight of the decision heavy upon him. When he opened them, his resolve was clear. You have my authorization. May we all live to see tomorrow. Dr. Kwan nodded and turned to her team. Initiate primary sequence. Begin singularity formation. Inside the moon, massive machines activated, drawing power from fusion reactors buried. Deep beneath the lunar surface, a controlled quantum reaction began, carefully contained within layers of specialized fields. In space, the battle continued. The Imperial fleet pressed its advantage, moving closer to Earth as the defense platforms fell one by one. Grand Admiral Hyuk allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction. The outer defenses are nearly destroyed. Prepare landing forces. Soon we will. Admiral, interrupted his sensor officer. Massive energy readings coming from the moon. Something's happening. On the lunar surface, a strange glow began to emanate from installations built across the face of the moon. Energy collected from the sun for weeks was channeled through a complex system of relays and amplifiers. Singularity stable, reported Dr. Kwan's chief engineer. Gravitational lens forming. Target the center of the Imperial fleet, Dr. Kwan ordered. Prepare for full discharge on my mark. In the orbital command center, Admiral Kim watched as the moon began to glow with unnatural blue light. All remaining defense platforms, focus, fire on the Imperial flagship, he commanded. Keep them distracted for just a few more minutes. The remaining Earth platforms concentrated their attack on the Eternal Glory, forcing Grand Admiral Hyuk to divert ships to protect his flagship. What is happening at the moon? He demanded. Scan it immediately. Some kind of weapon, replied Commander Yoon, staring at the readings in disbelief. They've converted their entire moon into a weapon. In the Lunar Control Center, Dr. Kwan checked the final calculations one last time. Everything depended on perfect timing and precision. Singularity at optimal containment, she announced. Gravitational lens aligned. Firing in 3, 2, 1, mark. The moon flared with blinding light as the controlled singularity focused the sun's energy through the gravitational lens. A massive beam of concentrated solar energy, hotter than the surface of the sun itself, burst forth and cut through space toward the Imperial fleet. The beam struck the center of the Imperial formation. Ships caught in its path were instantly vaporized, their advanced shields useless against such raw power. The gravitational distortions created by the artificial singularity rippled outward, tearing apart ships beyond the beam's direct path. On the Eternal Glory, Grand Admiral Hyuk watched in horror as hundreds of Imperial ships were destroyed in mere seconds. Impossible, he shouted. No planetary civilization should possess such power. Retreat. All ships retreat immediately. The surviving Imperial ships began turning away from Earth, desperately trying to escape the devastating weapon. The once mighty 7th Armada, pride of the Empire, was in full retreat. In the Lunar Control Center, alarms began blaring as the singularity showed signs of instability. Power levels fluctuating, reported the chief engineer. The containment field is failing. Dr. Kwan moved quickly, entering commands into the main control system. Redirect power to the containment fields. Shut down the gravitational lens. We need to collapse the singularity now. For several tense minutes, the team worked frantically to contain the growing instability. Finally, the readings began to stabilize. Singularity collapsing, announced the chief engineer with relief. We've done it, In Earth's orbital command center, Admiral Kim watched as the Imperial fleet retreated in disarray. Of the 1,000 ships that had entered the solar system, fewer than 400 remained, and many of those were damaged. "We've won, Captain," June said quietly, hardly daring to believe it. Admiral Kim nodded slowly. "This battle, yes, but the war? The Empire controls thousands of worlds. This defeat will not go unanswered." As Earth celebrated its victory, the surviving Imperial ships limped back toward the edge of the solar system, carrying with them news of a defeat unlike any in Imperial history. The warning had been sent. The Empire had chosen war, and now the galaxy would never be the same.